Hi, I'm James, the Exec Function Coach, and I'm here to talk to you about 5 homework barriers that your child may be running into. If your child is having a hard time getting their homework finished night after night, chances are good they're running into one of these barriers. So, what I want to do is give you some strategies that you can share with your child to help them develop some pro academic habits and combat some of these barriers so that they don't get in the way anymore. The first barrier is overwhelm. Kids these days have a lot of homework, and chances are that your kid feels like there's just too much to get done. So, why even get started? The strategy that I find to be most helpful with that is chunking. And the best way to explain it is through this analogy. Imagine you have a big, juicy, delicious steak, but it might be more than you'd be able to eat. What's the first thing you're going to do? Cut it up into small little pieces. Eat it one bite at a time. The fact of the matter is, if you're taking a big homework assignment and breaking it up into smaller, more manageable tasks, it becomes a lot easier to take a step at a time, and the more steps you take, the closer you are to being done. So sit down with your child when they're feeling overwhelmed and ask, how can you break up the homework assignments into smaller, little, manageable pieces? And if we set a goal of getting a little bit done, at a time, we keep getting closer and closer to getting done. The second barrier I like to call analysis paralysis. Let's say your child has all the homework all laid out on their table. They're ready to go. They've got their planner. They've got their notebook. They've got the laptop. They've got everything they need. And then they proceed to sit there and stare at it for 20, 30 minutes without even getting started. Chances are good your child is having a hard time prioritizing what homework they need to get done first. It can be helpful to sit down with them and talk about what they need to get done and what they think would be most helpful to get done first. I highly recommend getting done the homework that is due tomorrow. Do that first, because if there's anything that's due later, we can handle that later, especially if we run out of time. But if everything is due tomorrow, you've got 2 choices. You can either do the hardest assignments first so that everything after just feels so much easier, or you can do the easiest assignment first, and then every assignment after you feel a little bit more accomplished. You feel like you've already gotten done with some of it so that you're more confident in tackling the progressively more difficult assignments. That strategy is something that I've borrowed from personal finance advice. Getting the hardest one done first is the avalanche strategy, and getting the easiest one done first is the snowball strategy. The third barrier can sometimes be really challenging. Oftentimes, kids forget to do an assignment here or there. And it's understandable. They have a lot of homework that they have to keep track of. And if I'm going to be honest with you, that's not something that kids are naturally very good at. So even if your child wanted to get all their homework done and they sat down and had a really productive homework evening, they might have forgotten to do the Spanish homework. They might have forgotten to do one assignment here or there. And problem is, if they're forgetting to do one assignment here or there, that can really pile up. So the strategy that I've found to be most helpful is a checklist. It's a simple matter of sitting down and writing out every single assignment that needs to get done. It can make your life a whole lot easier because if your child can see, this is what I'm going to do first, this is what I'm going to do next, this is what comes after, they know that they're not done until everything on that checklist is crossed off. And let's be honest here, one of the best feelings in the world is crossing something off your checklist that you've gotten done. It also helps kids to see, I've got this much more to do, and so I need to keep going, or I need to take a break now because I've still got more assignments to go. It's a great way to make sure that your child gets all the assignments done without forgetting one or two here or there. The fourth most common barrier is that kids simply don't have the time. And it may sound like an excuse, but fact of the matter is kids are busy, and that's a good thing. With sports, with musical instruments that they need to practice, with time socializing with their friends. Homework sometimes falls to the bottom of the list of things that kids need to get done. And the fact of the matter is, these things are all important. But if you have something that's important to get done, you need to make time for it in your schedule. Most kids will approach homework as the last thing they do at the end of a very long day. The problem with that is that that's not the time when they do the best thinking. So it can be helpful if you sit down with your child and map out what their after-school schedule looks like. Try to account for every 15-minute window, because sometimes kids could utilize downtime in between activities to get one homework assignment done or two homework assignments done. That way, when they sit down to do their homework at the end of a long day, there's not 8 different assignments that they have to do. They've already knocked off a couple of important ones, and it's a lot easier for them to get the remaining homework assignments done. Oftentimes, kids don't realize that they have some really good time in their day to get a little bit of homework done here and there. And that just makes it a whole lot easier to get everything done at the end of the day. The fifth barrier is budgeting time wisely. Kids just aren't good at figuring out how much time their homework assignments are going to take them. I've had kids tell me, well, my homework assignment took too long for math, so I didn't have time to do my social studies homework. Well, and that's a problem. Oftentimes, kids don't realize if they're spending too long on one assignment or if they're getting stuck and losing valuable, precious minutes being unproductive, staring at one single problem. I tell kids, if you get stuck, put a star, write a note to the teacher, and move on to the next assignment. One strategy that you can use to help your child budget their time more wisely is by using a countdown timer. Countdown timers are great ways for your kid to realize how much time they've already spent and how much time they have left before they would like to be done with that assignment. And as soon as they've spent 30 to 40 minutes on one assignment, they should get up, go take a break, grab a snack, walk around. But those breaks should also be timed as well. Countdown timers can be really helpful for making sure that a kid isn't spending too long on one assignment, but also can be really helpful in making sure that they're not spending too long on their breaks. So these have been 5 homework barriers and 5 homework strategies that you can share with your child. I hope that you found these to be helpful, and I hope that you come by next week when we have another video.